Oh hey guys, thanks for tuning in. Today we're going to go over 15 high performance car bargains that you can get for under $15,000 USD. And most of these cars were released before or after 2010, so you can actually consider these recession rich. And number one, which is the same car that I'm in right now, is the 2007 to 2011 Mercedes CLS 63 AMG. Back in 2007, 2009, this one in particular, 2009, had an MSRP of about $130,000 for the P30 performance package models. They have a 6.2 liter M156 V8 with 507 horsepower and 465 pound-foot of torque with a 0-60 time of about 4.3 seconds. These days you can pick one up for a really neglected one for about $10K. But if you want a good taken care of one with some paperwork, you're going to pay about $15K. Next up is the 2006 to 2010 BMW E60 M5, powered by the 5-liter V10 engine that was derived from Formula One technology and sounds quite like a race car. With 500 horsepower and 383 pound-foot of torque, this thing will get you from 0 to 60 in 4.5 seconds. So it's quite fast and it sounds amazing. These things, when you have a good exhaust on them, they just sound out of this world. But they are heavily, atrociously unreliable, and most people will end up spending all of their money just keeping them in the shop. But if you're a sucker for punishment, go for it, because I almost bought one of them instead of these. But I still wish I got one. But maybe we'll wait and get one of those down the road. Next up is the 2007 to 2011 Audi S6 V10. It's powered by a 5.2 liter V10 that many say are derived from the Lamborghini Gallardo, but the cylinders were bored out to make the Gallardos a 5 liter V10. The original MSRP was $100,000 in that price range, and now you can pick one up for about $10,000 to $15,000. And they are a huge bargain because they produce 435 horsepower and 398 pound-foot of torque with a 0 to 60 time of 4.5 seconds. And number 4 is the 2009 Maserati Quattroporte. 2009, they switched to the 4.7 liter V8, which has some more power and it's also much more reliable. And it's just an engine that a lot of people were much more happy with. And to these days, they've been known to have upwards up to almost 200,000 kilometers for people that really drive these things all the time and don't let them sit. And when they first were released, they had an MSRP of $133,000. They produce 433 horsepower, 361 pound-foot of torque, and a 0 to 60 time in 5.3 seconds. But if you opted for the GTS model, you can get that thing under 5 seconds from 0 to 60. But it's safe to say they're an incredible bargain because nowadays you can pick one up between 10 and 15 grand. And if you want one that's a GTS, you're gonna have to pay closer to 30 because that 4.7 liter was tuned to produce a little bit more horsepower, and it is also much more reliable and sought after, and they hold the value much better than the standard S model. And number 5 is the 2008 BMW 335i. These things have a huge tuner following, but that being said, everyone that drives them loves them. I still haven't had the chance to drive one, but I would love to potentially buy one in the future just to experiencing the tune ability. But needless to say, these things had an MSRP when they first came out of just over $50,000. But nowadays you can pick one up between $5,000 and $15,000 up to $20,000, and they're slowly starting to appreciate upwards because as they get used, as they get tuned, and more of them fall off of the marketplace, the values are becoming increased because they are more in demand. The 3-liter twin-turbo N54 engine produces 300 horsepower and 300 pound-foot of torque with a 0 to 60 of around 5 seconds when it is stock. But that being said, these are easily tuned to over 500 horsepower, and you can get 0 to 60 times in the low 3 seconds, and if you put enough of an investment inside, you can actually get these things under 3 second 0 to 60 times. So they're a great value for the dollar. Number 6 is the 2011 Cadillac CTS V. They had an original MSRP of about $58,000, and they're powered by a massive supercharged 6.2 liter V8. They produce massive numbers with 556 horsepower and 551 pound-foot of torque and a 0 to 60 in just over 4 seconds. These things are an incredible deal because you can pick one up for about $15,000 for one that is higher mileage. And the other great thing about them is that they come in a manual transmission. Most of the CTSVs with that 6.2 supercharged V8 came in a manual transmission, so it has a heavy amount of enthusiast following because it is incredible value for money, and they are one of the funner cars out there to buy. And since it's built in the USA, it's known to be heavily reliable and lasts hundreds of thousands of kilometers. And number 7 is the 2008 E92 BMW M3. These things, when they first came out, had an MSRP of just over $57,000. And nowadays, you can pick one up between $15,000 and $30,000, depending on the shape that it's in, even a little bit less than 15 if it's been heavily neglected. But $15K is going to get you one with a medium amount of miles, maybe more towards the side of high mileage. But regardless, you're going to get into that 4-liter naturally aspirated V8, and you're not going to spend a whole lot of money. It's especially a good deal with 414 horsepower and 295 pound-foot of torque, and an impressive 0 to 60 time of 4.2 seconds. And number 8 is the 2008 Corvette C6 Coupe. When these things first came out, they had an MSRP of just over $51,000. They're powered by a 6.2-liter V8, producing 430 horsepower and 424 pound-foot of torque. And one of the hottest 0 to 60 times on this list yet, other than the 335i that was tuned, which is at 4.1 seconds. And at 4.1 seconds 0 to 60, you can say this thing has been the fastest so far on the list. Also available in a 6-speed manual. And you can have all that for about $15,000 for a higher mileage one. These things really hold their value well, especially if you get a low mileage one. You're going to be paying about 25 grand, which is crazy because they've only lost about 50% of their MSRP. And the price is staying high due to the high amount of enthusiasts that follow the Corvette. Especially with that 50-50 weight distribution, it is one of the most enjoyable enthusiast cars on the market today. And number 9, the 2008 Lexus LS 460. This thing has a big, huge 4.6-liter V8 engine, and I have it under the high performance category here, but in reality, it's actually more luxury. But we're going to leave it in here because it's also sexy, but very powerful at the same time. And when this thing first came out, it had an MSRP of $62,900. It had the 4.6-liter V8, producing 380 horsepower and 367 pound-foot of torque. And it had a 0 to 60 time of 5.4 seconds, which is pretty incredible, especially for a Lexus of that era. And remember, it's built around luxury, so speed doesn't really matter for this car. All of that can be had for as low as $8,000 for a high mileage model, or $15,000 for one that has some good paperwork, a little bit lower mileage, and one that's been heavily taken care of. And number 10 is the 2009 Audi S5. It's powered by a 4.2-liter V8, comes in an automatic and a manual, and it is quite powerful, with 349 horsepower and 369 pound-foot of torque. And you can continue to be impressed with a 0 to 60 time of 4.4 seconds. They're really sexy cars. They have a variety of different interior colors, and they just look super sexy. You can get it red, beige, whatever, and they just look amazing, and they're good value, and they last a long time. These things have been known to last up to 300,000 or more kilometers, especially when they first came out for over $52,000 back in 2009. Nowadays, to pick one up for about 10 grand, it's a great bargain. All right, guys, that concludes this video from the cockpit of my 2009 CLS 63 AMG. Now, let me just show you something quick. I added these little paddle shifters on. Pretty cool, eh? Wow. Yeah, I know. It's pretty tacky. But hey, it is what it is. And she's powerful, just the way I like her. So, if you guys like this kind of video, you can smash that subscribe button, stick around, because I know there's going to be a lot of cool stuff coming this way. And if you guys enjoy this video, if you can hit that like button, I would greatly appreciate it. And we'll see you guys in the next one, you guys. Peace.